we've done a lot of, what do you think, what's the state of the transportation sector right now, Lindsay? There's a lot of federal dollars coming through the American Rescue Plan and infrastructure.
Right.
Is that going to help with the drop of ridership? What's the impact of technology and learn from home?
Yeah, I think the landscape will totally change. Obviously, so much of our infrastructure is outdated. I think that the bridges the American Society of Civil Engineers has poorly graded our bridges for decades now. And there's so many of the interstate highway structures that were built in the 50s and 60s are now coming to their useful life. And so I think we're going to see this big reimagining of our transportation system. I think we acknowledge the harms that dividing communities played, in building out these large highway systems. And we obviously, with climate change, we need to think about creating more sustainable transportation systems and offering, more carbon friendly options, and to reduce single occupancy vehicle driving and commuting. And so then the pandemic threw a wrench into all of this too. And it'll be interesting to see, as Jen mentioned, will teleworking remain, after the pandemic eases? I think that there's a lot of potential there too. But another interesting thing that happened during the pandemic was a lot of tactical urbanism, where people really, we just very quickly reworked our streets. That in a lot of communities, they reduced the number of lanes available to car traffic and either added bike lanes or were expanding sidewalks so that then retailers and restaurants could do outdoor seating and outdoor shopping. And so you just saw this kind of shifting of space away from cars to people and pedestrians and bikes. And I think inadvertently, it really showed us what's possible and how to think big and how to think visionary. And it was this great way to kind of test some of these prototype, essentially, like a design thinking process, prototype and refine these interventions. And so I think in the next, the coming years, I think the transportation landscape could be totally shaken up. It'll be really interesting to see what happens.
It's funny, Lindsay, I was just like last week in a conversation about the Phoenix Center, and I said, why don't we just close Saginaw Street completely, turn the whole thing into a walking street, and the whole, and then the Phoenix Center can actually shine, right? And be the thing that it could be. Yeah, wouldn't that be beautiful?
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's so much smarter than trying to fix, they're talking about fixing the drive-through underneath and all that. It's like, no. Make one big loop on the outside. And the question of what to do with the parking lot is let people park their cars there so they can get out and walk, right? I mean, just you need a place to park, and then get out of your car because everything else is walking.
Right.
Yes.
It would be beautiful. It would be a beautiful thing. I know. I actually, because the unrolling of the loop project is, keeps coming. I've been dragged into some of those conversations, and
it's bad.
And I know it is. And that was my answer. Actually, why don't we? It's been a while since that conversation started. Why don't we look at it differently now?
Yeah.
It's been at least 10 years. So let's think about another solution. We don't have to do the thing now that we know we have some money. Why don't we do something? At least think about something different. But we seem to be stuck. So.
Something smart versus just doing something to do something.
Exactly. I mean, there's that. It was my idea 8 years ago. Therefore, we should keep going at it.
The false premise was people couldn't find Pontiac. I always found that somewhat suspect. Okay.
No, the problem is there's not enough interesting reasons to come to downtown.
Yeah.
So make it fun and interesting to come downtown.
They always do everything backwards. They always want to do the physical, like redo the loop rather than just doing what you have said. And when they wanted to demolish the Phoenix Center, it was so that cars could come streaming through our little 6-block walkable downtown that could be a super block if we're thinking about Barcelona and what places like that are doing. I'm not sure if Ryan's on right now, but that's they're doing a lot around looking at Barcelona super blocks, and we have the perfect infrastructure as is but we have to do community engagement. We have to bring our community to our downtown and make them make a reason for them to come.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you all have been in Ann Arbor. I mean, there's some people just go there because you do. You get out of your car, you walk around, you see people. It's like being in Italy. It's like being in, you just, it's what you do.
That's
Yeah.
what I remember about Pontiac when it was successful.
Yeah, that was the place, that was the city I used to come to as a young adult, and for a long time, that was the place we went. We went to dinner, you would go listen to the piano bar, you'd go, whatever, right? Yeah.
It would tell you when you got here.
Yeah. So, and kids too, I mean, that's part of it, is it, because it's open and you can walk and you don't have to be afraid. And yeah, I know there's so much opportunity. It does require an open mindset for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
which is lacking. That's you've hit on another core problem, is lack of open mindsets, right, Katha?
Parks and Rec
That's
have
all over.
the most insight and the most value in the moment because of the way in which bikes and walking are going to impact our downtown. Probably more so than any car-centric proposition. We've got plenty of automobiles and very little foot traffic. I keep commenting that the pandemic has not had an impact on the foot traffic in downtown Pontiac. There wasn't any previous to it.
Right. Didn't change, unfortunately. Yeah.
We didn't have
I've had my hand up because I want, before Senator Bear gets off, to ask about, Lindsay had talked about that we're seeing this shift now in transportation, that a lot of, during 2020, a lot of cities began to shut down certain areas, certain streets that didn't have a lot of usage to allow people to walk. They've done a lot of things to open up public spaces and to open up more spaces for people to be able to recreate outside safely. And most of of what's being said now, it appears that we're not going to go back. America has really taken to the outdoors, and I don't think we're going to go back to, staying inside. So we really have to look at outdoor spaces differently. There's a difference in the post-COVID perception of outdoor spaces from being nice things to have to being essential to our public health. Mm-hmm. So with that said, I know there's a lot of monies at the state level. I've heard the governor's comments about, asking the Republicans to assist with deciding how this money is going to be used. But I just wanted to ask you, will there be funds in these COVID monies that have been sent to the state? Will there be funds for these kinds of projects like placemaking? Because the kinds of things that you mentioned and the kinds of things that the other man that made the presentation talked about, of how you can start small, just start with, you're trying to bring in a new concept, and you just start with something small and kind of see how that what the reaction to that would be, and go from there. Are there going to be monies for placemaking and for helping us to reconfigure our public spaces, Rosemary?
Yeah, I don't know why we would not do that, right? There is going to be a lot of infrastructure money. And how you describe, the projects, there's ways to describe a project as fitting into the categories. Everybody's pretty loose about the way things are going. The jobs plan will be the biggest bucket of money. And a lot of that is really actually literally to drive good employment around infrastructure. So we know we need to fix our bridges, right? We know we need to fix our roads. So we can engage the people that need good work as well. And that's all, so it's all kind of tied together, which sort of opens up the purpose bucket a lot, right? If we are doing this for multiple reasons. So, and certainly in a place where you're talking about opening up people to the out of doors. And that's a direct response to what happened last year. And that's kind of what they're getting at, is how do we, the funds that are coming, the America's Rescue Plan funds that will be here very soon, actually, its intent is recovery. And so you can think of this and building outdoor spaces and bringing ways for people to come together as recovery, right? All the things we talked about, or I've started talking about, I didn't go very far, but talking about mental health and social recovery, all of that is tied to it, right? This is a health and wellness kind of scenario, really, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I absolutely think it will fit into the bucket. Now, the challenge for us always is getting access to the bucket and making sure that, we're standing in line in the right line at the right time. And there's some battles going on about how much money Pontiac, the city, gets. The county is getting $250 million, which is a lot of money. And I know they're holding hearings to talk to people about what to do with that money. So that would be a good place to start to talk about, how do we do this? How do we make an outdoor place that makes sense for the people, right, to recover as we go through this change that's come about because of the virus, because of what happened last year. There's no question that we are changed people.
Right.
The community needs to change as well.
Absolutely.
There's also a big commitment to Pontiac from the county level. It's a really good time to ask for money. I don't know what the city will end up. And even if the city gets $30 million, it will be challenging to get everyone to agree on how to spend it, right? I mean, that's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Trying to do anything in the city. You guys know this more than I do, I'm sure, but to make a big change in the street. I was thinking about, you can do small projects, but what if you actually had a map that showed Saginaw, one of your beautiful diagrams, with a whole lot of small projects, and each one of those projects belong to one of those stakeholder groups or companies in the city, right? So whether, each one of those individual placemaking things, the small project, maybe this one here is a community garden, and that one's a fountain, and that one's a thing to do. I'm thinking about hot spots. So what if you had park-like places to sit that looked like trees, that maybe they were not even real trees. Maybe they had goats that sucked garbage. I don't know. But ways for people to sit down and get access to a hot spot right there downtown while they're walking around. Maybe there's, you can sort of tie in a little bit of technology, the solar power zones, where you can plug in and charge or sit under the light or, whatever, just up and down the street and draw there's so many companies now around Pontiac, and they all seem to want to do something. Everybody could own a piece or be responsible for a piece. Kind of like you do your cleanup on the highway, you put your company sign there. This display brought to you by United Shore Mortgage. This block brought to you by United Shore Mortgage. This block brought to you by Amazon.
Here we have something here just on that.
There's summer youth program.
Senator.
Graphic.
This is our downtown Pontiac youth summer program graphic that we have pushed for about 4 years.
Oh, nice.
And I think it's finally meeting its moment. But we have if we were to do a walkable city experience for kids.
From City Hall down past the library, down into the downtown, and have kids learn a little bit about civics, have kids learn a little bit about what a library offers in terms of interesting things for them, as opposed to, hey, we have interesting things. And then real world opportunities to engage with businessmen and entrepreneurs and so forth and so on.
Right. The things that will bring the adults downtown, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They bring their kid. The kids say, "Come down, look at my projects," and then you may have a city functioning from the bottom up, as opposed to these other catastrophes we've discussed of top-down thinking.
Yeah.
But you're a technologist, so you think this way naturally. So. Anyways, that's the where do we have? So we have in Lindsay, we have the transportation center over here. That's in the corner. The Phoenix Center is right here.
Okay.
And this is the walkable Saginaw that we're talking about. And
So
these
when
are
I
the
drew
parts-
a picture of the loop, I made the bottom end of it rounder and got rid of the street that ran through the Phoenix
Uh-huh.
Center completely, right? Because it shouldn't be high speed anything in a city like this. It should be walking and bikes, right? Get rid
right.
of that part completely.
And
Yeah.
once
We'd like to reroute 59 around that bottom and just let them go around and not have to come down through the city.
Right, exactly. You just make the whole thing accessible to
21,000
people.
cars going
But
there.
then it depends on having things in there that people want to do. And I hate to say this, but I really do have to go.
okay, we figured you. We're thankful you were able to be with us this long. You said you could only.
I knew I would get drawn in. I knew that would happen. So I pushed my 4 o'clock out, but I actually told them I'd be 15 or 20 minutes late. So now I'm really late.
It's very important. There's a book, Design When Everybody Designs. And one of the passages says, you can do all the good works in the world and you have to have someone in the political realm who will promote your projects and support them.
I will do that. And I can help with, as we uncover opportunities for money, right? I can help identify those and, kind of steer you guys toward things and advocate for you. I will always, they already know that anyway. I mean, I walk in, I actually have a coffee cup that says I got people in Pontiac, and I mean, it just happens all the time. Wherever I go, people know I'm going to talk about Pontiac. And that's good. That's a good thing. That's what you want, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, and I think we've gotten to where this is, so it's kind of interesting because we don't have a lot of real cities in the state, right? But we have Detroit and we have Grand Rapids and we have Flint and we have Pontiac. And I mean, we're like in the top 5 now. And it's just because we talk about it all the time, not because it's that big.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'll look forward to the next round. So
awesome.
We'll be following
very
up.
fun.
We'll keep
Rosemary.
signing.
All right.
Thank you guys. Nice to meet you both
Thank
too.
you.
That was really fun.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.